everyone, my name is AJ, and I haven't come up with a good intro yet. Today, I'll be turning Hollow Knight characters into humans. Hollow Knight is one of my favorite games of all time. It's a 2D side-scroller action-adventure game with some of the loveliest animation and gameplay I've ever experienced. Of course, I never actually finished the game because it gets insanely hard at the end, and I'm really bad at games. I did get pretty close though. I should play it again and see if I could get an actual ending this time. Growing up, Hollow Knight was a huge inspiration on my artwork. Before I even knew of its existence, I had a fairly similar style, though not nearly as good because I was a child. After discovering Hollow Knight, though, I went through a huge phase where everything I drew looked like Hollow Knight stuff. To this day, you can still see bits of inspiration from it that I use in my designs. I have been wanting to make a video about Hollow Knight for a long time, and I am so glad to have finally found an excuse to draw the characters. The first character I'll be turning into a human is Ghost. This is the main character of the game that you get to play as, and certified a little guy. They are not named, but one of the characters gives us a nickname Ghost to describe how we move around. When you die, you leave behind a piece of yourself called a shade that you have to kill in order to get your money back, and your full capacity to heal. I remember when me and my siblings first got the game, we all gave nicknames to our character and the shade. I named mine Chicken and Spicy, respectively, though none of the names were nearly as iconic as my little brother's Nugget and the God of Death. In the game, everyone is canonically wearing masks, and I wanted to keep drawing all the masks. Masks are cute! And Ghost just wouldn't look like themselves without a mask. So I kept the mask and focused my efforts into making the rest of his outfit different. Ghost has a very simple design, and I wanted to keep their clothes very simple also. They don't have any emotions, so I wanted to keep all personality out of their clothing as much as possible. Instead, I made a few adjustments to their cloak and focused everything into crowding them up with as much of their inventory as possible. I gave them a huge backpack to store all their stuff, including their geo, extra masks, and all the collectibles. In the game, there are these items called charms that all have different power-ups and boosts and stuff. You can't use all of them at the same time, though. You have a limited number of notches, and some better charms take up more notches than others. I thought it would be cute to put these notches on the straps of Ghost's backpack. I don't know why I decided to connect the straps to the neck. That's not practical in the slightest, but I thought it looked cute, so it's staying, I guess. Some of the charms in the game give you little companions that help you out, and I decided to draw all of them. I also drew the Dream Shield charm, but I forgot to draw the shield, so just pretend it's floating off screen. I started with the Weaver Song charm. This charm gives you 3 little spider dudes that run around and bite people near you. For a split second, I considered drawing them as humans too, but that seemed like too much work, so I didn't. For the next charm, though, I did. This next charm is my absolute favorite charm in the whole game. As soon as I got it, I never took it off ever again. This is the Grimchild. Quick spoiler warning, in the game, there is a character that you can summon by activating a secret that will basically have him abandon his child to you in a cool demonic ritual type thing. This charm needs to be upgraded a few times to be useful, but once it gets its powers, it becomes a very useful little item. Baby Bean, as I like to call him, will shoot fireballs into the faces of your enemies. The more you upgrade him, the stronger they are. When it's fully grown, Baby Bean is almost as large as you are, so I thought I would turn him into a little person too. He really feels like more of a companion than the result of the charm, even compared to all of the other baby charms. I also made his mask cover his full face. I made him a little bit smaller than Ghost, so he looks visibly younger. I also gave him an intense slouch, because that just seemed to fit the vibe. He's like kind of a teenager, maybe middle school, I guess. I turned his wings into a cloak, because it was the obvious move. I made his little horn things into fluffy hair, because it was also the obvious move. I wasn't really sure what to do with the rest of the outfit, though, especially the legs, since the original has no legs. I repurposed the tummy scale things. I know bugs don't really have scales, but I don't know what else to call those. I repurposed them into armor type stuff. I gave him like some plain black pants and little boots, and that was it really. Another simple design, but that's Hollow Knight, baby! Beautiful simplicity is how they roll. After that, the last charm was Glowing Womb, which makes these little babies that look like you appear. It's the same gimmick as one of the enemies that you can find in the abandoned crossroads. These babies will fly into enemies and damage them, which destroys them. But for the low cost of a little bit of your soul, you can birth a new one in their place, up to 4 at a time. I also refuse to draw these ones as people. I didn't change anything about them really, I kinda just drew them in my style as cute little sprites. I added color to everything and shaded the dream nail and lantern, then remembered I forgot to draw the shade, so I drew the shade. Then I added the background in by pulling up a picture of the crossroads from the game and giving it some blur. Then I remembered I forgot to add the King's Brand. The King's Brand is a mark you can get near the end of the game. You need this mark in order to finish the game. I'm pretty sure anyway, I forget. It's been a long time. Now, this mark doesn't actually show up on your character design, so it might not be like a literal mark, but other characters can see it and you can unlock different areas of the game by using it. I thought I would include it on the character design since I had put everything else on there. I was originally going to put it on the character's chest, but it's decided since it's described as a brand and not just like a mark, to slap that baby on his face. The eye socket of the mask covered up a lot of it, so I edited it in such a way that you could still see it on the black parts, which doesn't make sense, but whatever, it's fantasy nonsense. Next up is the Dung Defender. This one was requested by my patron Mercer Scott Holt, and I'm so glad they requested this one. I don't think I would have drawn him if he hadn't been requested. The Dung Defender is one of the best characters in the whole game, hands down. He's super friendly and has a lovely boss fight. He mistakes you for one of the zombie-like enemies that roam the game, but apologizes when you beat him up. He gives you a charm for your troubles called the Defender's Crest. This charm makes you real stinky. While that charm might seem a little useless on its own, it has effects on other charms. For example, if you wear it and Glowing Womb at the same time, it will make your babies explode and do more damage. It will also give you secret dialogue from some of the NPCs you can interact with when you're wearing it. I initially didn't have any ideas for what to do with the Dung Humor's human design, so I did what I always do when I'm lost. Just trust the process. I started by sketching out a chunkier body type, for, well, obvious reasons. Look at him, that's a chunky boy! I don't think I made him quite chunky enough, but that's okay. I really need more practice with chunky body types. I've always had this weird problem where I tend to make the shoulders of really any character a little too thin the first time. I used to be way worse, but I'm improving. It's an urge that I still really need to focus on in order to stop myself from doing it. When I had the body type and pose all sketched out, I finally came up with an idea. The horns on the Dung Defender's helmet made me think of samurai helmets. Samurai are some of the most underrated things ever. I don't know very much about them, but just look at their armor! They look so stinking cool! I have never drawn a samurai before, and once I had that idea in my brain, I simply had no choice. Most of the process was just vibing around. I added a sort of jacket thing on top of his armor. I saw this jacket type thing, whatever you call it, present in a lot of the reference pictures I used for inspiration. I also added a skirt? I'm sure it has a different name, but I don't know what it is. It was also very fun. I wasn't quite sure what to do with Dungy Boy's arms. He frequently uses his arms as a slashing weapon, so I couldn't just call them sleeves and call it a day. Instead, I added the claws in as like a weapon on the sides of his arms. There's something about it that doesn't look quite right. I think the way I drew them looks a little flat, but overall, I'm really happy with this one. The last one I did was my personal favorite character, Grim. Call me basic if you want, horny even. But I just love Grimm so much. He's so stinking attractive that it's not even fair. Grimm's a cute little cult leader with the worst smoker voice you'll ever hear in your whole life. He is the guy that I mentioned earlier that gives you his baby. I wish I had my initial reaction to finding Grimm on camera, because it was so freaking funny. I played Hollow Knight completely blind, so I had no idea going into it about anything. I stayed away from spoilers religiously when I first played it. I had no idea that Grimm existed. I found him completely on accident, and when I did, I was very scared and very confused and worried that I had done something wrong that would give me a bad ending. And then I saw Grimm, and I was still scared, but now I was also feeling a bit romantical. And then he gave me his baby. Yeah, this is where you get the charm that I drew earlier. He just goes ahead and gives you his baby, and you don't get a choice on whether or not to say yes or no. You just have a baby now. And in return for raising his baby, you get to dance with him, which is just a cute way of saying that he beats the crap out of you and burns your face off. Honestly, good trade. Worth it. It took me more than a week to finally beat him. And then I found out that to finish the ritual, you have to fight him a second time in his mind, and he does double damage and looks like an anime character and is even faster. So, yeah, I never went back to finish the job because I was scared. Anyway, I really wanted to make sure that I did him justice. His cult is circus-themed, so one of my patrons recommended I use a ringleader as reference. Grimm also has a lot of vampire motifs to him as well. For example, when he's asleep, he hangs upside down from the ceiling like a bat. And also that cloak. Woo! I carried over the collar bit that he's got going on, but exaggerated it in such a way so that it's still big without hiding as much of his face. I put him in a ringmaster suit with a big old bow tie and some huge high-heeled boots. The Grimm Troop's tent has wallpaper with the silhouette of Grimm's head everywhere, so I decided to put those same symbols on the side of his pants and on his boots. They're cut off from this perspective, but they're there! I made his face into a masquerade-type mask, cause that's hot. And also, I gotta make those lips available for kissing. I turned his horn things into hair, cause it was the obvious move. He probably slicks it back with some kind of product to get it that way, probably the blood of his enemies. I think that his hair kind of looks like wings, also, like this. I'm gonna shut up now. For colors, I sampled from a screenshot of the animation that plays before the battle. This made all of the colors a little bit more pink and purple than red. And then I was done. And then I got carried away. You see, I had drawn all of Ghost's little guys, and that made me want to draw all of Grimm's little guys. So I did. In order to upgrade the Baby Bean charm, you need to defeat these enemies called Grimmkins, so that Baby Bean can eat all their flames. The first level is the Grimmkin Novice, then the Grimmkin Master, and the last one is called the Grimmkin Nightmare because they do double damage and are also very annoying. In the Grimm fight, he has these attacks that look like phoenixes, so I also drew those for extra set dressing. I thought it would be cute to put little bows around each of the Grimmkins' necks to give them a little bit extra shape, and then I styled them in such a way that it was unique to each one. I tried to give the Grimmkin Nightmare some older sibling energy and make the Grimmkin Novices look like little babies. The Master is kind of just there regretting his life choices. The staff was annoying to draw. It's such a simple object, but it has just enough detail that if you get it wrong, it looks terrible. So I only drew it once, and then copy and pasted it a few times so that I didn't have to draw it ever again. Then I colored everything, plopped in a screenshot of the background, and called it done. And that's everything I've got for today. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and a special thank you to my patrons Mercer Scott Holt and Jay Draws. If you'd like to support me, you can head over to my Patreon. I also take commissions. Here are my prices. And if you'd like one, you can order them on Ko-fi, Instagram, or Discord. I'll see you all next week in a super cool video about something else. See ya!